The borders in Africa are often straight due to several historical and practical reasons. Colonial influence. Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885, European powers divided Africa among themselves during this conference without considering the natural or cultural landscape of the continent. The borders were drawn based on geopolitical and administrative considerations rather than local features. Lack of local knowledge. European colonizers had limited knowledge of the African terrain and its diverse ethnic groups. They often used straight lines to simplify the process of demarcation. This approach was expedient and avoided the need for detailed surveys of the land. Geographical and strategic considerations. Desert and low population areas. In regions with low population density, such as deserts, straight lines were used more frequently. These areas were of lesser strategic interest to Europeans, and the exact placement of borders was less critical. For example, the borders in the Sahara Desert are predominantly straight lines. Water bodies. Major water bodies like rivers and lakes were often used as natural boundaries. However, in areas lacking such features, straight lines were drawn to establish borders. About 63% of Africa's bilateral borders are primarily defined by water bodies or their watersheds. Administrative and political factors. Minimizing conflict. European powers aimed to minimize intra-European conflict by using clear and simple lines to define territories. This approach helped avoid disputes over border locations. Ease of administration. Straight lines made it easier for colonial powers to administer their territories. They facilitated the division of land and resources and simplified the management of colonial borders. Post-colonial retention. Stability and continuity. After gaining independence, African leaders largely retained the colonial-era borders to maintain stability and avoid territorial disputes. Changing the borders would have been a complex and potentially destabilizing process. In summary, the straight borders in Africa are a legacy of colonial-era decisions driven by convenience, lack of local knowledge, and the need to minimize conflict among European powers.